With the Season of the Wish artifact, we have a very heavy focus on the Solar subclass this time around, and with this video, I'm going to give you guys another Solar Hunter build, this time with a focus on the Shards of Galanor. Let's not waste any time and dive right into it. So it's Perk Sharp Edges. Throwing Knife Final Blows decrease the cooldown of your super. That's actually a brand new add-on to this exotic, and then hits and Final Blows with the Blade Barrage will return super energy after the super ends. So as long as you hit every knife onto a target, you know, bosses are pretty easy because you can just shove all the knives at them, but if every knife hits, you can get 50% of your super back. I do want to talk about the Gunslinger subclass before we dive into the artifact perks, because a lot of the stuff here is very important and that will lead into the artifact bonuses this time around. So with the super, obviously you want Blade Barrage to take advantage of Shards of Galanor in the first place, so make sure you have that on. For our abilities, I'm going with the Gambler's Dodge. When I dodge near your target, I can get my melee back, plus going with Triple Jump for movement, but you can use what you like. For the melee, I definitely would recommend Knife Trick because we can actually proc Scorch on a target, and once we get enough Scorch stacks, that can cause ignition. And then for the grenade, I'm going with the Healing Grenade for the cure and restoration effects. For our aspects, I'd recommend Knock them down because we do get bonuses to the Blade Barrage, so it launches more projectiles, so more knives will come out. And while you're Radiant, Final Blows with your equipped throwing knife fully refund your melee energy, so we can continue throwing Knife Trick as long as it kills the target. And then for the second one, we're going with On Your Mark. So Precision Final Blows grant you and nearby allies increased weapon handling and reload speed for a short duration that can stack up to 3 times, and then activating your class ability immediately grants those maximum stacks. For Fragments, definitely put on Ember of Empyrean. This one is kind of important for the build, but Solar Weapon ability Final Blows extend duration of Restoration and Radiant. It is a -10 to Resilience, but all you have to do is toss that Healing Grenade down on yourself. That'll proc Restoration, and then as long as you get a Solar Weapon or ability kill, like right afterwards, you can have restoration for up to 12 seconds and continually keep that timer up. And you're like, David, how are we going to become Radiant? Well, that's where Ember of Torches kicks in. So power melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies Radiant. It's a -10 to discipline, but it doesn't require a kill. It just requires you to hit the target with your melee. Now, I would recommend Ember of Singeing, so your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. And we're going to be scorching a lot of targets, not just with the Knife Trick, but with other things that are going to be coming on the artifact perks and weapon-wise. But basically, if for some reason the Knife Trick doesn't kill a target, we can always dodge near target to get it back. And then, obviously, we can hit a target again, and it'll scorch the target. That'll proc Ember of Singeing, so we can get that Gambler's Dodge back. And again, there's multiple other ways to get this, you know, fragment to proc, but again, it is very important. Next up, Ember of Ashes, so you apply more Scorch stacks to targets, and again, the more Scorch stacks we can apply, the more ignitions we can cause. And then lastly, I personally like Ember of Wonder. So rapidly defeating multiple targets with solar ignitions generates an orb of power. This is a +10 to resilience. The reason I am using this is because of the artifact in particular, but usually some people like going with Ember of Beams, so your solar projectiles have a stronger target acquisition. This really helps the blades if you're like farther away, but most of the time I'm within reach of the target, so that's why I'm going with Ember of Wonder this time around. Now, leading into the artifact, there are a few perks you definitely want to pick up, especially with this build and just solar subclasses in general, but Kindling Trigger, Radiant causes solar weapons to apply Scorch to unscorched combatants. Basically, it is a free Scorch proc, and as you know, that can proc Ember of Singeing and a variety of other things as well. With Torch while you're Radiant, you deal increased weapon damage to combatants affected by Strand and Stasis debuff, so whether you're applying the debuff with a weapon or your teammates are doing it with their subclass or a weapon, as long as you're Radiant, you get increased weapon damage. Definitely put on Heart of the Flame, so casting your Solar Super grants nearby allies Radiant and increases the damage of your super for each nearby ally. This is really good for dungeons, it's really good for raids, especially if you're on the Solar subclass. Definitely put this on this time around. Now next up, Revitalizing Blast. Causing damage with a solar ability weakens champions and bosses for a short duration. This is literally a free weaken proc on a boss, so you know, sometimes what I like to do is I toss my Knife Trick at the target, and then I can use my super, my weapons, and all that. And you're like, David, how are you going to get the knife back? Well, Gambler's Dodge, dodge near your target, get my knife back. I can throw the knife, that'll scorch the targets, and then I can get my dodge back with Ember of Singeing. So it's kind of this continuous cycle of dodging and throwing the knives, which is pretty good. Then I would highly recommend Raise Precision. So while you're Radiant, Solar Precision Final Blows cause combatants to ignite. Now this can happen with your weapons and also the Knife Trick. So if you get a precision kill with Knife Trick, it'll actually cause an ignition. For some other perks, definitely put on From Whence You Came. Increased ability damage to take into scoring combatants. That's a majority of the enemies this season, and it's very good in Warlord's Ruin. you know, the new dungeon, so definitely put that on. Wish into being, you know, while your super is nearly fully charged, ability final blows spawn orbs of power. Since we're going to be like halfway to the super all the time anyway with Shards of Galanor, this one is just going to come in clutch. Using rockets, you know, definitely put on Argent Ordnance for the increased damage if you're going solo operative. Again, there's a multiple other perks in here you can play around with, but again, these 5 I would highly recommend. Now let's go over armor mods, starting with the helmet. I am rocking double hands on here, so I gain bonus super energy on melee kills. And again, since the exotic already kind of does that, this is kind of a add-on to that, so we can get the super back very quickly by just getting knife trick kills. Then I also have on Harmonic Siphon, which translates to Solar Siphon, but only costs 1. So if you're using the same subclass, definitely look into harmonic mods in general. But rapid solar weapon final blows create an orb of power. On the gauntlets here, I am rocking double impact induction, so when I cause damage with the melee, it reduces my grenade cooldown, so I can have that healing grenade back faster. And then heavy-handed, your powered melee final blows create orbs of power. Note, with heavy-handed, firepower, and the Reaper mod on the class item, they all have a 10-second cooldown between each orb that can be spawned, but we're going to be using the melee anyway. We might as well take advantage of it. On the chest piece, you can rock whatever combination of reserve and resistance mods that you like. You know, definitely put on harmonic reserves, so you don't have to waste 3 points for solar reserves, because this counts as solar reserves. On the boots here, I'm rocking recuperation, so when I pick on an orb of power, it gives me health back. Also have harmonic scavenger, which translates to solar scavenger, so solar weapons get bonus reserves when picking up ammo used by that weapon. So I'm going to be using a solar heavy, so I might as well get more heavy ammo from that. And then also solar weapon surge, so your solar weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you have any armor charge. Your armor charge now decays over time. Note, you gain armor charges by collecting orbs of power. With this build, we can have 3 armor charges, and with any of these blue mods, it adds a 10-second like timer to each of the armor charges. So if we have 3 armor charges, that's 30 seconds of this bonus weapon damage. And then lastly on the class item, I'm going double bomber, so it reduces my grenade cooldown when using your class ability. And then I'm also using time dilation, so your decaying armor charge has a longer duration, so that 10 seconds that I mentioned actually gets bumped up to 15 seconds. So if we have 3 armor charges, that's 45 seconds of that bonus weapon damage. If you did want to replace one of the bombers for powerful attraction, so when you dodge, it'll collect all the nearby orbs of power near you, again, you can totally do so. Now for stats to focus on, we talk about every video, try to have tier 10 100 resilience. It's a 30% damage reduction. Survivability is definitely going to be key in all activities you do across the board. I do like discipline. You know, discipline is tied to the grenade, so if we need that healing grenade back faster, just in case, this is just kind of a helpful thing for that. You don't really need mobility, since with Ember of Singeing, we can get it back pretty quickly as long as we're scorching targets, whether it's with our weapons or our abilities. And again, with strength, we don't need high strength because dodging gives us back our melee. So the only other option is intellect, and intellect is tied to the super. As you can see, mine is low, but honestly, you can get it back pretty fast with this setup regardless. For your weapon options in the primary slot, I personally like a special weapon. I have the Scatter Sigil here with Slice and Control Burst. Main thing with Slice is that when I dodge, the weapon will be able to sever targets, which can add on that debuff to where we can actually take advantage of Torch as long as we are Radiant, which is very nice. And then also have a Deliverance with Chill Clip. I do like Conditional Finality for certain encounters, but you know, as long as it's a special weapon, you'll be fine. In the energy slot, I like a primary solar weapon. Again, I have this Abyss Defiant here, Recon Incandescent. This thing's fantastic, especially with Cursed Thrall. I can get that knife trick kill, and not only do I spread Scorch, but Cursed Thrall also blows up those targets, which is nice. Again, Epichild Integration, Callous Mini Tool, both have Incandescent. You could totally do Sunshot as well. Sunshot is fantastic this season. There are multiple primary options. Just pick your favorite one. And then for your heavy weapon, again, you can use whatever you like. I personally like using Dragon's Breath with this because it's very passive. I can launch it at a target, use my knife trick, you know, gain radiant, do increased weapon damage, cause weaken on that target, use my super, use my Scatter Sigil with Slice. Again, I have multiple different options with this. It's a very passive exotic to use, and it's still very good this season. But you know, any solar weapon will work. Solar heavy, Cataclysmic, 4 times the charm, bait and switch, Apex Predator, Recon, bait and switch, you know, Galahorn if you want to be the team player, if your other 2 players are using rockets. Again, put on your favorite solar heavy weapon. Now if you got through all that and you're still a little confused about how this build works, I'm going to break it down for you, but honestly, it's kind of easy mode. Again, the main thing is getting the super so we can actually use it on a target, but before any of that, we need to be able to survive the encounters in general. So before hopping into engagement, I would recommend tossing down the healing grenade on yourself. Then you can use your weapons or your knife trick to get kills to continue restoration. And again, with Ember of Torches, as long as you hit a target with knife trick, you gain radiant. And again, chaining those solar ability kills, those solar weapon kills, you can keep up, you know, restoration for health and radiant for extra weapon damage and pop anti-barriers if you need to. If you lose your knife trick, you can always use Gambler's Dodge, and as long as you're scorching targets, Ember of Singeing kicks in, so now we can get the Gambler's Dodge back even faster. And again, while you're radiant, you're taking advantage of all the artifact perks. You know, you're scorching unscorched targets, bonus weapon damage against combatants that are affected by strand and stasis debuffs, and any precision kill, whether it is with your weapon or your knife, will cause an ignition. And then with Ember of Wonder, as long as there's multiple targets within that ignition, as long as there's like 3, again, that'll generate another free orb of power. Now, let's say you get the super and you're ready to go. You want to use it on a boss, a mini boss, like champion, whatever. As long as all of those knives hit, you will get 50% of your super back. And then all you need to do is get a couple of knife kills and you can get the super back within a couple of seconds. It's crazy. Like the updated perk with shards now, it's just throwing knife kills, you know, decrease the cooldown on your super. You put 2 hands on the helmet, it decreases that time even more. Plus, with the knife trick paired with knock him down, as long as you're radiant, which getting radiant is very easy, you have the knife all the time as long as you're getting kills. And like I said, if you don't get the kill, just gamble just dodging your target and then use the knife again, and you can continue using that knife. This is very similar to the Ophidia Spaith build. It's just the difference is that the melee doesn't do extra damage like Ophidia Spaith, but you still can get that super back very quickly. The whole thing with this build is to abuse Blade Barrage as much as possible because, again, with Revitalizing Blast, once that first knife hits on that target before it even explodes, that'll weaken a boss. So you can continue using your Shards of Galanor super, you know, with Blade Barrage pretty much continuously. Everything else with your mods is just kind of a bonus, you know, being able to create orbs of power with Solar Siphon and Heavy Handed, you know, Impact Induction, you know, getting knife kills can give us that healing grenade back just in case we need it. You know, Solar Weapon Surge for the bonus to your solar weapons, whether you're just using it against, you know, ads or a boss or anything like that. Then Time Dilation, all that stuff lasting longer. Your dodge also giving you your grenade energy back with Bomber. So again, most of the mods are just kind of bonuses. The main thing with this is just getting the super, using it on a target, and getting it back again. That, ladies and gentlemen, is my Season of the Wish Shards of Galanor build. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Again, I'm actually going to put the dim link for this build in the description, so if you want to copy everything that I'm using, down to the subclass, the armor mods, even the drip, if you'd like. Some people ask me about shaders for certain things, and all that will be included in that dim link. And then test out for yourself. If there's something that you like using for this build, whether it's a weapon, a fragment, something under the mods, you know, definitely let me know in the comments. I'm testing stuff out in this game all the time. In any event, if what you saw was valuable or entertaining to you, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then turn on the bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on another build video here on the channel. If you didn't know, we live stream here on YouTube and on Twitch. Again, that link will be in the description. We will be playing a lot of Destiny 2. We cleared the Warlord's Ruin dungeon in around an hour and a half, and then the second one we cleared it in 49 minutes. So we will be doing a lot of those dungeon carries. So if we're doing them live and you want to hop in, definitely hop in the chat. And if you want to be proactive, join my Discord. Again, we're trying to grow the Discord. We're trying to get more people that want to play Destiny 2 and do LFGs, you know, dungeon carries, all that great jazz. But we are talking about other games in there, including Cyberpunk, you know, PC Tech, anime, and more. Lastly, if you want to support the channel even more, you can look into becoming a member. If you don't know what a membership is essentially like a Twitch subscription. Again, you're going to get access to the exclusive emotes, the monthly badges, and other cool stuff here on the channel, cheaper than what is a Twitch subscription, technically speaking. So if you would like more information, all you need to do is press the join button next to subscribe, and that'll give you a rundown with all the details you need. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.